So, hi there. In today's lesson, we'll be learning about simultaneous equations. So before we dive in, let's just quickly explain why and when we would want to use simultaneous equations. So, the reason why we want to use it is when there are two unknown variables within an equation. So as you can see here, there is 2x plus y is equal to 1 and 3x minus 6y is equal to 24. The x and y variables here are unknown variables. These are something that we need to find out. And there's only one pair of values that will solve both equations at the same time. So both these values, these x values, will be the same, and both these y values will also be the same. So there are three possible ways of solving simultaneous equations. Number one is through substitution. Number two is through elimination, and number three is through graphing. In today's lesson, we'll only be focusing on the substitution part, and in future lessons, we will look into the elimination and the graphing methods. So let's begin. Before we start these types of equations, I would always recommend that we label these equations. So 2x plus y is equal to 1, we can label that as equation number 1, and 3x minus 6y is equal to 24, we can label that as equation number 2. Okay, so step 1 says to rearrange one equation to equal y or x. Now we could do it to either one of these, equation 1 or equation 2, it doesn't really matter, but hopefully you can see that equation 1 is a lot more simpler than equation number 2 to make y the subject. So what would that be? That would be simply y is equal to 1 minus 2x. Hopefully you know that to make y the subject, we must have y on its own. And to get y on its own, we must move this 2x from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. To be able to do that, we must subtract 2x from the left-hand side. And whatever we do to the left-hand side, we must do to the right-hand side. So that makes it 1 minus 2x. Okay? So that's our y value as the subject. Let's just quickly label that as equation number 3. Okay, so now step 2 is to substitute the new equation, which is equation number 3, to the second equation, equation number 2. So what this simply means is 3x minus 6 brackets 1 minus 2x, because it's this y here, which we found out, is equal to 24. Okay, and that is step 2 done. Now we move on to step 3. Step 3 talks about working out the new solution from the substituted value. So we essentially expand this equation. So what we have is 3x minus, and through BODMAS or BIDMAS, we expand this bracket. So 6 multiplied by 1 is equal to 6. And a negative value multiplied by a negative value makes it a positive value. So minus 6 multiplied by minus 2 makes it a plus 12x is equal to 24. Okay. Now, in mathematics, we want to make terms alike. So what we have to do is to essentially have the x values together and the non-x values together. So this means that it is going to be 3x plus 12x is equal to 24 plus 6. The reason why it's plus 6 is because we have to move these 6 from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, and the only way to do that is to add 6, as the left-hand side 6 will cancel out, and that means that the right-hand side will have this plus 6 value. Okay? So what we have now is that equation here. So now let's just expand this or make it together. So 3 plus 12 is 15x, which is equal to 24 plus 6, which is 30. So what we have is 15x is equal to 30. So now what we have to do, which I'll show you here, is so what we have right now is 15x is equal to 30. Okay. So to be able to have x as the subject and x on its own, we need to divide it by 15. So we divide this by 15, and whatever we do to the left hand side, we must do to the right hand side. So we divide this also by 15. Now we know that 15 divided by 15 is equal to 1, and 30 divided by 15 is equal to 2, because 15 multiplied by 2 is equal to 30. Okay, so now what we have is 1x is equal to 2. If we divide this by 1 and divide this by 1, we have 1 divided by 1 is essentially 1, but we can say that x is equal to 2. Okay, because 2 divided by 1 is 2. Excellent. So now that's step 3 done, we've found out what our x value is, which leads us nicely to step number 4, which is to use the new x value that we've just found and substituting it back into these equations. Now it doesn't really matter which equation we want to do it in. We can do it in equation 1 or equation 2. But for simplicity's sake, by doing it in equation 1, it is a lot easier. And this is shown by this. So what we essentially do is 2, and we've just found out this x value, which is going to also be 2, plus y is equal to 1. Okay, so now when we expand this, 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to 4, plus y is equal to 1. We want to make y the subject, so y is equal to 1 minus 4. And because we want to take the 4 away, whatever we do to the left hand side, we must do to the right hand side. And that's why it's minus 4 here. So then the final answer is going to be y is equal to minus 3. And that is our y value. Now remember when I said that we could quite easily have done it with equation number 2? Let me just quickly show you that. So we have 3, and then it's 2 here. So 3 multiplied by 2 minus 6y is equal to 24. Okay, we'll expand this out. 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Minus 6y is equal to 24. Okay, so then we want to make terms alike. So we have minus 6y is equal to 24. We want to take this 6 from the left hand side to the right hand side, and we do that by minusing it by 6. So we must also minus it by 6 here. So we have minus 6y is equal to 18. Okay. Now, what we do is whatever we did up here, so 6y divided by 6 is equal to 1. So we have minus 1y is equal to 18 divided by 6, which is 3. And we don't want y's to be negative. So we want to make this y into a positive. So we need to swap it around. So therefore we have y, and because we swapped this around, this should also be swapped, which would make it into a negative 3, which is the same as this answer. So finally, what we can say is x is equal to 2 and y is equal to minus 3. And that is our final answer. And before we go, remember when I said that we could have quite easily done it with this equation? I want you to go away and rearrange it to make y the subject by using it with equation number 2, and then trying to see whether you get the same answer as here. Okay? Now I've also got many other examples that you can quite easily do, and I want you to have a go, and if you get stuck, then we could quite easily look at them and work through them the next time we meet. Okay, excellent. I hope that all makes sense, and yeah, if you have any questions, do let me know. Alright, thank you so much for listening. Take care, bye-bye.